Welcome to the Tush Twins. Actually, the show is now the Tush Twin, and I should say, welcome to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, pretty much. I think you're right. I mean, this is the Tush twins, and I could do the intro, but the redhead is off today. She had needed a few days off. I don't know. I hope she's not in the Smoky Mountains because we are. It's it's just nuts. It's just nuts.
Now, tell me about it, since I'm in beautiful California, which is actually
Uh,
overcast.
yeah, it's been overcast there for a while, right? I know
Yeah.
you've been hitting, but uh, it's because there's fires in Canada at this point, which they can't seem to get a handle on at all. I think they need help. I think they need a lot of help. There's not enough.
It's in the LA people there.
They know it. They know it well. Anybody from the West Coast knows it. So they're out of control, and all the smoke is coming to the Northeast and to the Midwest. And we in New York have not really experienced this. I know you guys out west have. I mean,
Yeah.
you've had, fires. I mean, I've been there when there's been fires and you couldn't drive up the street, you couldn't see. And now here I'm looking out my window and it's like a yellowish tint. Yesterday there was a little red, it was a red ring around the sun, which is just unheard of. And everybody's texting me going, this is eerie. No, they actually have a warning, don't go outside, avoid outdoor anything. If you do go out, remember those masks during the pandemic? Well, bring them back out because the N95s are making a comeback. So
When we have fires, up north in San Francisco or even further north or a little closer in Ventura, we get it here in Los Angeles. All
mhm.
the smoke and clouds. But the worst that I remember was when they had the volcano in Washington,
Uh-huh, right.
and
Mount
for
St.
weeks,
Helens or something.
yeah, St.
Yeah,
Helena,
St.
Helena,
Helens, St. Helens, Helens. Yeah,
Helen. Okay, uh,
Helens.
Helen's.
I
It's a
I think
Helen's volcano,
I
whatever.
think whatever it was
But,
not good.
but
It's
anyway,
just
the ashes were coming down here.
right, right.
I mean, the wind is a powerful, conveyor,
Yeah. Well,
transportation.
I mean, we had some crazy thunder and it was like it looked like end of times yesterday. It was like the sun was weird. We had these thunder, lightning, all sorts of crazy stuff, and I felt like I was in like a movie set. Like, is this real
Yeah,
or is
just
it
say
CGI? What is this? What's going on?
it's
And is
as I say, it's a Twilight Zone.
maybe it's AI. Who knows? Maybe we're in an alternate universe and can't seem to get out.
I think
But
I've been in an alternate universe for a while.
I
But
believe I am right now, and I mean it just feels very weird, and uh again everyone pretty much feels the same way, so I know it's not just me. It's not
but
just
anyway,
me.
getting on with our show.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
Uh,
so again, we have Malcolm, you're the third Tush actually. So you're stepping into tush full Tush mode right now. Uh and because the redhead again
I
is
don't know how
back.
I should take it with the days of the LGBTQ is being prejudiced against. Could I be a tush?
Absolutely.
Okay,
You can be a Tush.
okay.
So
But anyway, we're not talking about tushes or
okay.
tushies.
All
We're
right.
talking
Well,
about rock
for
and roll and the house of the Margos.
yeah. Well, sure. I could address that in a lot of different ways. I was a little kid when my brothers, who were founding members of the Tokens, who did The Lion Sleeps Tonight. You know that song about a kitty cat, a big kitty cat, big
Yeah,
cat?
I sort of remember the lines.
Do you? So yeah, so it was pretty crazy. It wasn't your average Ozzie and Harriet household. Although Ozzie and Harriet had a rock and roll son, Ricky Nelson. So I can imagine maybe off camera it was closer to my home than it was off
Yeah.
camera. And I had a crush on Ricky. He was a beautiful guy. I was so sad when he went in too early. But back to craziness.
I think I had a crush on Ricky
Did you? I think everybody had a crush on Ricky.
because aside
Ricky.
from the fact that he was extremely good looking and
Hmm.
had some dynamite music,
Yeah.
uh, he seems so nice.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. I think he pretty much had a good rep. You know, sometimes the nice guys, you think they're nice and they're not.
Yeah, I don't know if he
But
was or not.
but
And,
from what had read in the past, I think he was one of the nicer guys on the circuit. So that's
the,
good to know.
the word in the show business, it was Hamisha.
Hamisha? Okay, well, again, I was little. I was like 5 or 6 when The Lion was a hit. uh Recalling that actual moment when it hit #1 on the Billboard charts and everyone's screaming, and I had no idea what a Billboard chart even was. But hey, it was #1, and all you need to know is we're #1. So I think I jumped on the bed like 100 times screaming, we're one, we're one, we're one, which is
And you
whatever.
wonder what the hell
Uh,
does one mean?
what the
I
what
know when I had the show with Phil, I think that he related the story the first time he heard it on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's the first time he heard "Tonight I Fell in Love" on the radio.
One of the
Well,
songs I know
it
because
was because that was their first. It was a top 20 hit. I think it went up to 14 or something. That was their first hit record on Warwick label, and they try to get you know a better deal with Warwick, and it just didn't happen. And they wound up auditioning for RCA Records, and they auditioned with this little song, which was a folk song that the Weavers did, first done by Solomon Linda in Africa, called Imbube, and then somehow it went through different places and wound up with Pete Seeger, and they did a song called Weemaway, and the Tokens used to kind of practice with Weemaway, the song as it was, and they audition with that, and they go, well, we need lyrics and it needs more stuff. And so these two producers wrote lyrics, and the guys in the Tokens actually wrote the music that you hear in their hit record. It was different. It was a different way that it went. The other one went down. They went, we don't, they changed it. It was a different, set of notes and music.
yeah,
But
I remember when I was speaking to Phil. Now my ear, I can't hear it,
right.
but he said what you were doing, da, da,
Right,
da,
right.
and then it went down. But he did, and that's when he went
Yeah,
up, and
right.
that sort of made
And
the whole song.
it did make the song because it was very integral part of the song. So, but again, back to me in 61 and 2 and 6. I mean, again, being pretty young, and Mitch was pretty young. He had the Tokens at his bar mitzvah, the Tokens at his bar mitzvah. But because he was young, he was 12, 13, 14 when the record was hit. And so my house would rock. It would. I mean, there was no house on the block that had music going all the time. I mean, the roof would just thump up and down because our living room was the rehearsal hall. And that was the first house owners from Parkway. And my mom would make food for anyone who walked in, and it could be any time of the night almost. I don't know how my dad dealt with that at all, but I guess there was a cutoff somewhere, but my house was literally rocking, and it just kept doing that for years because they became producers of records as well. They had hit records, but they also produced other records. They produced He's So Fine by the Chiffons, which was the first #1 song by a group produced by another group. See, these little factoids, which you can check online, you would wonder why the group as a whole, for so many reasons, is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I think Mitch wanted to start the Rock and Roll Hall of Secrets, so maybe we'll start that. Who knows? But as a kid, I just went with the flow, and The only thing I got a little, upset because they left on tour many times. So I was like just there, they were touring around and the house got quiet sometimes from that. But when they were here and home, they would bring in the Tokens, the Chiffons, the Happenings, who did See You in September, Randy and the Rainbows, who did Denise, Tony Orlando and Dorn, a little song called Tie Yellow Ribbon, Knock
But
Three Times.
didn't Phil had something to do with that song, didn't he?
They did, they produced it. They
No, no, aside
produced
from
it.
producing it.
Well, they played on a lot of they played on all the records. They played instruments. They sang on a lot of records. They didn't sing, I don't think they sang that much on Chiffons, but Happenings, Randy and the Rainbows, Mitch very much worked with Dawn a lot for the singing parts. And so people were in my house like all the time rehearsing in the house in Brooklyn. So it was always filled with music. And if my friends came over, they would see something that they would never see at home because they were like Ozzie and Harriet houses. And, it was the usual kind of quote unquote normal stuff going on. And in my house, it was like, okay, Neil Sedaka might drop by. I didn't know he wasn't they weren't as big a deal as they are now and became, but coming in, they were part of the Brighton crowd because Neil Sedaka lived in Brighton, so did Neil Diamond.
Yeah, well, wasn't Sedaka one of the or started the
He
Tokens?
was
Was that the name?
yeah, there was a group that the tone something it was yeah, there's some connection with Neil and the Tokens, and then he left to be on his own. And then when the guys did the record for Warwick, which was the Tonight I Fell in Love, they first wanted to be called Those Guys. That was, Phil probably said that as well. We wanted to just be called Those Guys. And the record company said, no, you got to have something. And I go, well, I think Hank probably said, we have the Tokens, and they thought it was the Subway Tokens, that they got the name from the Subway Tokens. But not that that's ever been totally clear to me. It was more like Tokens of Love, a token of love kind of thing. So anyway, so they got the Tokens as the name.
Well, if you care to hear it, I think Phil explains it in the Lion Awakes in the old show. Of course, Phil passed
Right,
away about a year
right,
and a half ago, but I
right.
have all the old shows on
Yeah. I'm
on
glad they're there.
archives.
I'm glad they're there. Don't ever lose them.
No,
Uh,
so that's a history. I might
that's
put him a little back, but
it's pretty special, to be able to hear. I can't bring myself to kind of look at it yet still. It's even hard for me to listen to, music and Mitch and I'm still not there yet. You think I would be, but I'm not.
well,
But
I don't think a week goes by where I don't hear some. It may not be the Tokens, but another version of The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
well, my cousin Wayne in Connecticut, he basically sent me a text yesterday with a video that he felt very verklempt because he went to see his 12-year-old grandson's music concert, and the kid plays, I don't know if it's the trumpet, trombone, or something. So unbeknownst to him, one of the songs was The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And so the kids were playing The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and he was like almost in tears because that we had spoken to Phil had spoken to them a lot. It was a cousin, they're cousins, so
Yeah.
it was a family thing. And he said he teared up, and he was like shaking his head, but he was like, the connection is always there for him. And to have his grandson play the song was really kind of, cool and very heartfelt for him. So yeah, the song lives on just in like every possible way, from, being in The Lion King,
Okay.
from being in The Lion King in they have a pavilion where they do The Lion King in the Animal Kingdom in the theme park. And it was funny because we were there with the Tokens, and they asked them to come in, and they were then when they sang The Lion Sleeps Tonight in the show, the guys went up and they started singing in the show, and then they introduced them, as the original, the Tokens who did the original, and the audience went wild. It's like, what are the odds of us going to see this? And then the Tokens being there, and then it was like, it was really neat, actually. I'm using the word neat. But anyway, so my
Yeah,
house
it
was
sounds like
nuts.
recent. It sounds like recently when they were doing the Neil Diamond show, and
Yeah,
Neil
well,
was here singing "Sweet Caroline."
right. I mean, Neil, I don't remember. Well, I remember Neil Sedaka coming to the house and playing Little Devil. He did a song called Little Devil. And, whoa, 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 yeah, Little Devil. And I was literally sitting on the piano bench with him. And I thought he wrote that for me. I thought it was like I was the little devil, the
Well,
little girl devil. I thought it was like, maybe I inspired this. I
yeah,
don't know.
we should check it out. Maybe you did.
No, I didn't. Trust me. Nope. Wasn't there. He just was singing it because it was coming out. So he had written it a while back. And so I can't totally verify, but I believe that Carole King had dropped over the house. She lived in Brooklyn, but not in Brighton. But she came over. She was probably at the Brill building. I know she got pregnant pretty early, and I don't, but it's kind of fuzzy, but I think she was at the house from what I'm being told over the, years. And also my Mitch, who went to professional children's school because he couldn't keep up to regular high school because he was on the road a lot or recording people. He went to professional children's school with Bernadette Peters, that person,
Yeah,
and Michelle. She's a major Broadway actress and star in her right. And she was at Broadway shows, so she went to this school. Luke Halpern, who played Sandy on the show Flipper, who I had a crush on, by the way. He went there. He was in the same class as Mitch. And Michelle Conaway, who his brother is Jeff Conaway, who was in Grease and in Taxi. And Michelle was at that point in General Hospital. She was a star, young star in the soap operas. So they were all there
to
at
hang out.
graduation, and Mitch brought Bernadette over to the house once, but I didn't know. I was like, okay, that's cool. Someone, I didn't know a lot of the stuff, but when the other groups would be in the house, and then I would hear their songs on the radio, and I knew they rehearsed in my house. It was kind of interesting and pretty different. It's not overly usual to have a childhood with your family and your brothers being in, the music industry to that level at that time, and being producers of records and, musicians and singing on
Yeah,
other songs.
and then the hotbed of music in those days was Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah. Well, the Brill building, of course. And that was a big thing. My brothers used to go up there. I'm sure Phil said in his interview with the Chiffons that they went to like 12 record labels for the Chiffons. He's So Fine before before Laurie Records took it. And now, all these years later, the song is in The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg movie, which was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, I think we should have a campaign to get the Tokens into the
I
Rock
know
and Roll Hall of Fame.
you need a massive campaign. You need someone literally just dedicated to that on social media, like 10 hours a day. That's and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This, I don't know. It's completely, to me, political, and they overlook people. Our stuff is there, and I think they had asked for some of our stuff when the guys did the Anthem tour, when they sang in all 30 major league ballparks in 1998, and they're the first group to sing the national anthem in every major league ballpark, and they got a Guinness record for it. So that's pretty nuts. And
You orchestrated that, didn't you? Or you were?
me and the redhead Tush 1 and 2, if you think it's easy getting a group to 30 stadiums and having them all say yes, and then doing all the transportation, all the logistics, everything, it was massive. It was like doing a major concert tour, and it was only two of us. And my husband Les was the roadie for some of the uh, Midwest stops, and it was nuts. It was just nuts. And then they did a VH1 special on them and called them the most patriotic band of the 20th century.
Do you have a recording of that, or?
I don't know. I'm sure someone has it somewhere. I don't know if I have it directly. I might, but I'm sure one of the guys they have it, and I don't know. It was nuts. I mean, I just remember also as a kid seeing all this, and my friends wanting to go when Mitchell was older into his 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 bachelor man cave. He had this incredible downstairs living area with carpets and there's this like leopard kind of leopardy looking cover sheets and stuff, and he had a lava lamp, and he had 100-gallon fish tank. He had hundreds of albums, and he had the best stereo sound system you could want at that time. It was really nuts. So I think I could have charged admission. A lot of my friends had a crush on Mitch. It was kind of funny having girlfriends who had a crush on your brother. And then of course when they did like a mini concert in PS 253 in Brooklyn, and I was probably 7 maybe, and at the end of the concert everyone was going wild, of course. At the end of the concert, girls were waiting, and Mitch was coming up to me because I was like in the middle row, and I was trying to get out. I got out. He wanted to come give me a hug. They all ran after him. They tackled him, and they started pulling his clothes and stuff. And I was like hysterical crying that they're trying to kill my brother. And my dad finally caught glimpse of it, and he got the girls out. But it was really scary for me. I remember to this day, I thought that they were gonna. I didn't know what they were gonna do. My brother, like, what are you doing? Like I'm screaming.
Did he have that wild haircut that
Oh
back
no,
then
no,
also?
no, 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 no. They were pretty straight and narrow back then. They had much more cropped. They didn't get a little longer hair until uh
Post
probably
Beatles?
the late no, it's probably in the same Beatle era time, like later 60s. But their hair was, yeah, they it was a little longer than probably, I'm not sure which album they did, but the front cover of that album has them with longer hair. But it wasn't like curlier hair. It was combed, so it didn't
Yeah,
look.
well, Mitch had that big curly head.
He had, well, that's his natural hair when he showers and lets little ringlets. But they always had them, cropped pretty much when they did stuff, and they did tours of Europe, and literally Mitch was like 14, and this was like crazy. I can imagine why my mother was a nervous wreck. I didn't realize how nervous a parent could get when I know when your kids, right? My son, and yeah, you just don't pick it up, at the time. So it was crazy. And
Well, your son is always in between coming and going.
this kid is always between coming and going. Of course, he's here now when New York City is under like a major
Yeah, but he's not going to be
major.
here for another 2 days.
Yeah, no, I think he's here for a little bit, and then I don't know where he's. I think he's staying put for a little bit because he has to, hold on to his vacation days and such. But anyway, also I remember getting when the guys signed up with RCA, part of their bonus was a color TV and this incredible, beautiful stereo system with radio. I mean, it was gorgeous. And so we were the first to get a color TV on our block at that point, and
Wow.
everyone wanted to come over and watch the color TV. I remember, watching Disney, the Wonderful World, of Disney, and Tinkerbell would come out. The world is a carousel of color, and she'd go blink, 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 and in black and white, it was just black and white. But when I watched it in color, it was all beautiful colors. And I'm like, so that's what it's like, right? It was beautiful. And so people, it was like in TV shows where neighbors would stay by the window and they would look in. Well, sometimes that would happen. We have neighbors look at certain
Yeah.
shows and that were in color, and it was just pretty interesting.
Yeah, I had in those days. Well, I'm a little older than you. We had, I think, like the second TV show set in the building.
Right,
So, like on certain nights, like on Milton Berle, my mother would
right.
take the people would bring their chairs, and we lived at the beach, so they took the
Hmm.
beach chairs
Right, right.
and they sat like an audience in front of the TV set.
Sure, right. It's like, we had people in the house too. Like if my parents' good friends or something, they'd be over and watch it. But then the
Well,
neighbors would just come
it
and
was
watch.
it was kind of it's kind of hard to uh, watch TV from outside from my house because we were on the first floor. There's a
Hmm.
ground floor and then the first floor. So
Yeah. Well, we had houses. We had two houses on Ocean Parkway, both of which have now been bulldozed. Matter of fact, when we took my mom there, you know, uh, I don't know, 8 years ago, she saw that the houses were gone and there was apartment buildings there, and she was really upset. She was like almost crying, and I'm like, why did I do this? It's like I didn't want mom to get upset about it. Mom, don't worry, we're gonna go to Nathan's and get a hot dog. And she felt
yeah.
better. We're getting the hot dog. You'll be fine.
Well,
And
my apartment house was torn down also, and they built the city projects.
really,
And I go to I haven't been there for about 10 years, but when I go to the old neighborhood in Coney Island, it sort of brings a tear to my eye, trying
yeah, I
to
mean,
picture what
my
it was.
both houses I grew up in are gone. They're not
Yeah.
there. So it's a little crazy because I've been in this house, over 30 years. So
Yeah.
I
And
I
and
just yeah.
and then my public school, PS
Mhm.
188 is now Michael Birdie Public School, and Michael was we went to school together. We weren't friends, but we were friendly, and he was killed in Vietnam.
Oh,
So so it's
name of the school.
Michael Birdie
Yeah,
Memorial Public
that's a
School.
whole other chapter of things. But
Right, so
but
it gives me a feeling. But
yeah,
your early years must have been fun,
it
even though
it
you
was
didn't know it.
it was a lot of fun, and you know I thought it was like the normal thing to do until I went to kept going to my friends' houses, and it was quiet, and it was just nothing like my crazy house. And my brothers and my mom, who's an original, par nun, making chicken and spaghetti meatballs and cakes and rugelach. I mean, just it doesn't even matter what time of day it was. She'd just be up and just feed everyone. That's what she wanted to do. And then one night, the guys did a show on the same bill as the Beatles, and
Well,
I was so I don't know if it was the Paramount, I don't know where it was, I forgot. And it was in the city somewhere, and they were on the bill with the Beatles. Of course, I was in love with Paul, and I told Mitchell, I said, you meet him and you shake his hand, and don't you dare wash it. Don't you wash that hand. And when you come home, and I waited, I couldn't even sleep. I waited like 2 in the morning. They come in the door, and Mitch is going up the stairs, and I'm like, I go over his hands. I go like this. I go like this. I go, did you meet him? Did you see him? He said, we saw him, but I never got to shake his hand. And I was like, I was in tears. I go, what? What do you mean? You didn't touch him, whatever. But you were in the same place as them and you were right near them. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. It was like, I want to feel the Beatles and you. It was really funny. He thought I was nuts. I was.
you were
But
nuts.
Paul, I was a Paul guy all the way. But
You still come write him a letter and say, hey, you really missed the opportunity, and you like to see if you can hug him now.
yeah, right. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Not, I don't know if I did see him eventually at in Jersey, but it was way too big of the arena there. It was Giant Stadium, whatever it was. It was, we were too far up, and so you were looking at the screens more than when you were looking at the
Yeah.
stage, because it was. But I did get to see him. I mean, just the fact that I got to see him was.
But I can imagine you must have been the envy of all your friends.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was because I never had an identity until I got to high school, because all I was known as was the token sister. So when you go, and then they did a lot of TV commercials, and a lot of them were popular commercials, and people would sing them because jingles that those commercials were like, they did Shaker pudding, they did great shakes, they did uh Eastern Pan Am makes the going great. She lets her hair down. They did a lot of
Yeah,
commercials. They did the
that's to say,
commercial for Chesterfield cigarettes. Was called a silly millimeter longer 101, silly millimeter longer, and kids would sing that. So instead of going like, hi Max, oh there's a token sister, and they start singing a jingle, and I'm like, so all these years it's a token sister. It's like, so where's my identity? And I finally came into myself in high school, and I kind of shook it off finally, and so at least I came to my own personal self.
and then now you're the queen of podcasts and Zooms.
Oh yeah, I'm the queen of all. I'm
Or at
never the
least to me,
queen.
at
I'm
least
never
to
the
me, you are.
queen. Well, the queen of effing everything is my mom. She always will be. So I always have to be on the sidelines of the queen world. The closest thing though in my family currently is my dog, who's a diva. So
Yeah. And anyway, with that last note,
oh,
our time is
oh,
up.
time is up. So everyone
Yeah,
out there, if you're in the Northeast or the Midwest and you're seeing smoke like I am at my window, you need to stay inside. And if you're going out, wear a mask. So
it was a fun show, but
well,
we'll welcome back Rusty.
welcome back. Welcome back to Tush next week. She's somewhere down yonder.
Somewhere down yonder,
Down yonder in the Jersey area.
hopefully wearing a mask.
I think she's going to be hitting the Atlantic City
Oh,
scene.
I know.
So,
Anyway,
all right,
Max, be
guys.
safe, stay indoors.
All right, catch us on malcolmpresents.com, and we'll see you soon.
See you next week. Bye.
Okay.
Actually, I'll see you tomorrow. We do a show, The Many Shades of Green.
Right.
Bye.
Tomorrow's many shades. Bye.